Friends, it's been a good week. But the week's over. We've got 51 new weeks to start. And that's what we're starting to do today. This is a real community together this morning. Jews and Christians, people with lots of different political backgrounds. And the rabbi came close to talking South African politics. I'm a foreigner here. I'm not getting anywhere near it. But there are different political parties and different political views. But what brings us together is the idea that South Africa and Israel have much meaning for each other.
Yes, that's right.
And that's true in the real world, and it's true online. Safi, I looked the other day, and you're over 66,000 followers on Facebook. Is that right, Ben? It's very impressive. It's a big number. The next challenge is Twitter, perhaps. I just passed 6,000 there, so I've got a way to go too. And we need help, and we need more voices with me, and on Instagram, and on Pinterest, and on Snapchat, and obviously in the real world. Who here tweets? Not so many. I want you to tweet today. Okay, the hashtag we're going to use is SAIsrael16. I'd like to see 20 tweets from each of you during the day today. Start right now by telling the people that I told you to tweet. And then tweet the panel. And tweet the keynote speakers. And tweet to each other. And retweet. Let's make some noise. Because we reach thousands and thousands of more people by doing it. And friends, we're winning. There'll be no question about it. We're winning. If anybody was at President Perez's speech, it's already 2 weeks ago, Naomi, it's going quickly, huh? Former President Perez was asked a question about Israel being isolated. And if you were there with me on that night, President Perez talked about isolated. Yeah, we have a couple of little tiny small friends. And he talked about the tiny friends, that little tiny country of China, and the little tiny country of India, and not to mention the United States of America. We're not isolated in South Africa, friends. We're not isolated anywhere. We need to stop feeling defensive and surrounded. We have all of the advantages, all of them. This is ours to win. Let me talk for a few minutes about Israel's foreign relations and even go into more detail about the incredible opportunities that exist in 2016 for the state of Israel. So let's start in the Middle East. And everyone says the Middle East is broken, and in many ways it is. But in the reality of the Middle East, in March of 2016, there's no army that threatens the state of Israel. There's none. That's a blessing. That's a wonderful thing. We have two neighbors, Egypt and Jordan, that we have peace agreements and strategic, deep-seated, some things that we talk about and lots of things that we don't talk about that go together with those neighbors. We have security cooperation with the Palestinian Authority. That's good for the Palestinians and good for Israel. We have relationships that are growing in shared interests with Saudi Arabia, Gulf countries. This Shiite-Sunni conflict in the Middle East has shown them that we're not their problem. We're not. We're not the enemy of Saudi Arabia. We're not the enemy of the UAE. We're not the enemy of Qatar, of Oman, of all of those countries. Know that Israel's not their problem, and that there's room to grow. And look what's going on in Syria, and it's a massive, massive tragedy. Let's not make any bones about it. It's awfulness incarnate. It's the worst problem in our world right now. But from where Israel is sitting, right next door, friends. But almost all of the arms are gone. All of the weapons that have been pointing at Israel for 60 years are used up, chemical and regular. They're not a threat on Israel. The Golan Heights remains quiet and protected. Hezbollah is busy and it's bleeding. Its attention is on other things, and our attention could be on doing good things and on blessings. In the wider Mediterranean region, Israel's relationship with countries like Greece and Cyprus have been growing to a level of almost like a strategic partnership. We cooperate on energy, on security, and in other economic areas. The gas that exists in the triangle between Greece, Israel, and Cyprus is going to bring economic opportunity to the whole Eastern Mediterranean basin and causes these countries to see each other as partners. With Russia, a BRICS country. We're going to talk more about BRICS countries as we move along. By the way, we did this when we were at Turco the other day, talked about BRICS countries and their relationships with Israel. Right? When I say BRICS, just so that everybody understands, it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Okay? And give away a secret from inside the room on Thursday morning. We were asked to talk about Israel's relationship with the other 4 BRICS countries, and to share with South Africa the meaningfulness of those relationships. And oh boy, we did. And the reason we did is because those relationships are real and important. With Russia, Israel not only has a people-to-people relationship, there are over 1 million former Russians, sometimes dual citizens, living in the state of Israel. There are hundreds of thousands of Jews living in Russia. There's an appreciation of that. There's an appreciation of Russia for the strategic concerns that Israel has in Syria. And we're talking about it. And we're paying attention to each other from a place of respect and cooperation. Hopefully with Turkey, our neighbor to the north, things will turn. There's already successful trade and working together, and a feeling that we together are 2 little bastions of somewhat sanity in a region gone wild. Across Africa, friends, if you've been paying attention in recent weeks, Africa has been on front page news in Israel. Front page news. Prime Minister Netanyahu hosted in Israel, I guess it was 2.5 weeks ago, the president of Kenya on a very impressive, very public state visit. It was a fascinating interview in the Jerusalem Post that the foreign minister of Kenya gave, where she spoke of, she believed that 40 out of 54 countries across this continent are good friends of Israel, are partners with Israel, and that Kenya sees itself as a leader in pushing that further. Prime Minister Netanyahu announced that he's coming to Africa later this year. He's going to visit likely 4 countries across the continent, increasing our partnership that already exists with countries like Rwanda and Ghana and Uganda and Nigeria and obviously Kenya. Across the world. Those 3 tiny countries that President Perez talked about, India, China, and the United States. Again, we went into detail in Turco talking about the Indian-Israeli relationship. And one of the people on the South African side mentioned, yeah, we've heard about that from the Indians. Indian politicians are telling South African politicians, get on the train. Asia in general, countries like Vietnam and Korea and Japan are deepening their partnership with Israel. Friends, it's across the globe. How did Perez say it, Naomi? Isolated? Those academics have to go back to school and relearn a little bit. What I just described to you, friends, doesn't sound like isolation. It doesn't. It isn't. But obviously there are challenges that Israel has. We talked about the instability that exists in the Middle East. That's not good for anybody, certainly not the people of the region. Lebanon remains very, very weak. We remained concerned and focused on that Hezbollah may need a different story. And they may be able to get more and more Iranian money that has become free through the deal that has ended sanctions regarding Iran. In many ways, Hezbollah remains the biggest threat to Israel coming from the north. We have to keep our eyes on Iran after the deal to see what kinds of changes come. We saw that they did missile tests and wrote in Hebrew on those missiles, to make it clear, as if we didn't speak English or understand Persian, that we understood that they remain the one member state of the United Nations out of 193 that calls for the destruction of another member state of the United Nations. They will not hurt the state of Israel. We will stand strong if we need to, and we'll continue talking and reminding the world of the threats that they have, not just to Israel, but to their own people, their women, their young people, their minorities, and will remain strong. ISIS remains and is talking more about Israel, as if when they get done with the Muslims and the Christians that they're killing off as much as they can, they're going to try to come for us. And obviously we need to be aware of the Palestinian leadership succession, of how that's going to play out. There's an important split. It's not only the famous one between Hamas and Fatah, but from the leadership of the Palestinians to their people. The Palestinian people, friends, are not our enemy, they're our neighbors. We pray for a day that we can live in peace with our neighbors. That's our message. It's a message we tell everybody. We Israelis know how to make peace. We do. And we look forward for that possibility when we have someone ready to talk peace with us. And so let's go back to, now after we circled the globe, let's hone in on South Africa. And some people who've spoken before me, Ben talked about some of the things that happened over the past week. I'm going to even widen into the past month, since mid-February, some of the things that happened. So you've all heard that my boss was here last week, and we had a government-to-government dialogue, and we discussed cooperation on issues of core importance, of value to the government and the people of South Africa. Issues that the South African government tells us they'd like to see relationships develop and increase. I'd like to see them say that on the front page of the Sunday Times. But I'm going to say it and tell people wherever I go, because I was told it by South African government officials. And last night, just after Shabbat ended, I took the Director General of the Foreign Ministry to the airport, and the last thing he said to me, he said, "You got a busy few months in front of you, Arthur." And I said, "I've been busy already," but he's right. More good things are coming. We got 51 other weeks to work this year. Naomi, my good friend Naomi Hadar, was busy for the visit of Shimon Peres. A really meaningful visit. I think for everybody, it gave everybody energy. It also sent a message of some of the participation we had with the government of South Africa ensuring the success of that visit. Last month, I spent 2 weeks in the Western Cape. We have some friends from Cape Town in the room this morning. I see Jonathan here in the front. I see some others. Good. We moved the embassy to Cape Town for 2 weeks last month, as we do every February, and had a series of events, including offering consular services, including having a major economic agricultural seminar in Somerset West, including taking the premier of the Western Cape, Mrs. Zilla, to 2 Israeli companies, to see 2 factories of what Israel not can do in South Africa, but what we're already doing in terms of job creation, in terms of food security, in terms of knowledge transfer. So all of that happened in the last month. We have 2 important business collaborations. I don't know, is my colleague Itai Malkior here yet? He will be, right? Is he coming? He's coming. He's my trade counselor at the embassy. He and I worked together at the beginning of March at the rollout of a cyber lab. Here I see my deputy walking in the room, morning, Michael Freeman, who does wonderful, wonderful work here in South Africa over the past 3 years. Let's give him some applause, please. That's it, Michael, you thought you were coming in quietly, sorry. So, the beginning of March, we had an opening ceremony for a cyber lab, bringing advanced Israeli cyber technology. We're not just big for a small country, we're a superpower in cyber defense. And South African companies and government need to be able to protect you and documents you carry in your pocket and your telephone and all of the things that exist and the dangers of the 21st century. Israel is here to partner with South Africa on that. In the beginning of April, an Israeli company called Fruitrom is going to inaugurate a new factory in Midrand, employing 45 people, providing advanced Israeli technology for fruit drinks and the like, and do more good things. Last month in Barcelona, there is the world's largest telecommunications exhibition, conference. There were over 100 meetings between Israeli telecom companies and South African telecom companies. You can't be carrying a cell phone in South Africa in 2016 and not have Israel inside. It's not possible. And those cooperations and those partnerships are growing. And all that's just the last month. So let me tell you, and as I come towards the end, about some upcoming plans. And I've told some people, but this is the first time I'm going to say it this publicly. Who's been to an Israel National Day event in recent years? Anybody? Some people, lots of people, I was waiting to see hands go up, because I invite lots of you. Well, here's some news for you. Those of you who raised your hands, and those of you who didn't, you're not going to get an invitation this year. And the reason is, not because I don't like you, I do. We're not having a National Day event this year. And why? Not because we're afraid to, not because we ran out of money, but instead we decided to put our budget, instead of having another one of those receptions where you drink some nice Israeli wine and you eat some food and it's, like a bar mitzvah or a christening and it's over in 2 hours, I'm bringing my best water experts from Israel. I'm bringing the biggest companies in Israel who deal with drought, fighting the drought, and water management, and we're going to have 2 major seminars, one in Johannesburg and one in Cape Town in early June. And that's how instead of celebrating us, what we're going to do in 2016 is we're going to work on what we believe is the biggest short-term challenge that South Africa faces, is fighting the drought. And so we're going to really put our money and our time where our words are and find ways to share Israel's experience in that area. Other things that are coming up in the coming months. Israeli culture is all over South Africa, friends. Israel's John Grisham, a writer by the name of Liad Shoam, will be at Franschhoek. 2 famous Israeli bands, one called Hagar, another a band behind a famous Israeli Ethiopian singer by the name of Vesperado will be in South Africa in 2016. I know that there's a huge Christian event in Cape Town in May that we're going to be participating in. We're going to have more agribusiness events like we had in the Western Cape. We're going to be at Nampo in the Free State in May. We're going to Lesotho, Botswana, and KZN in 2016. We've now reached the point, after doing 5 of these events over the last year and a half, that provinces in South Africa, friends, are chasing me. They are. Just in the last week, I met leaders from Northwest Province and Gauteng who said to me, we heard about agricultural events that you're doing in South Africa. Come do them with us, with provincial governments across this country, and we will. There, Michael, I'm going to announce another project that we're doing. One of the core projects that Michael has led in his nearly 3 years in South Africa is a Startup Tel Aviv innovation contest that we've had and sent the winners with an all-expense-paid trip to Israel to get to meet the high-tech innovation environment in Israel. And today I'm going to announce that we're going to do it again in 2016. It's going to be a fun twist this year. By the way, we're going to partner again with Microsoft South Africa and again with El Al to do this event. But this time, the winner's going to be a woman. It's open only to women innovators. And you'll see publicity. By the way, I hope you're tweeting all this stuff. I'm going to remind you, hashtag #SAIsrael16. 16. That's, all right. Good. Not 15, not 17, 16. All right. Groups to Israel have to continue visiting from all walks of life. Innovators and politicians and business leaders and medical professionals and government officials and people of faith. It was so gratifying to see the enemies of Israel tweeting this week, see Israel for yourself. Now they were doing it to criticize us, I know. But by taking our hashtag, our message, they're coming into our narrative, friends. It's our story, because it's true. They're telling our story, and then they know that it's a danger for them. It's a risk. They'd rather keep their followers uneducated. Because anybody who goes to Tel Aviv, who goes to Haifa, who goes to Jerusalem, sees who we are. Not perfect, not all right, not getting everything exactly the way it needs to be, but pretty impressive, and pretty worthwhile, and reaching out to Africa. So we're not just talking anymore, friends. This organization is wonderful to have speaking all day long. But now, we're switching to the doing. We're winning, friends. You know, if you want to do hashtag winning, because we're winning. More events like today. more opportunities for synergies, whether it's water or agriculture or homeland security or Jewish-Christian connections. Friends, we're neighbors. We're neighbors, and neighbors do good things together. And these opportunities exist in South Africa. The reason that we're growing, the reason that Ben has been filling up this room more and more, is because everybody here understands that because Israel doesn't just offer a message, it offers tangible benefits for the people of South Africa. So I'm going to repeat to all of you things that you need to be repeating. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your politicians, come and visit. You got to see with your own eyes. You can't just believe what you see in the newspapers, or not even what Ambassador Arthur Lenk tells you. You come and make up your own minds. And let's speak out. Next year, let's create a situation where Ben's got to fill up the Sandton Convention Center, because this room is way too small. Friends, brothers and sisters, it's wonderful to see you on a Sunday morning, here together on the Church of Friendship and Partnership between Israel and South Africa. Bless you. Thank you all for all you do.